but he's just so boring and blasé.
Yep. What instrument do you play?
Trombone.
Okay, I play tuba.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Can you admit that?
I do. I had to figure the easiest way out, and once I learned F and B flat, I started getting all my gigs.
Right.
So all right, well, let's get started. Thank you, everybody. Good morning. I know we have people coming in. We'll stop our banter. Here is our schedule today. We have Dr. Chris Cicconi from Towson University in Maryland, and then our final closing keynote from Fennell, and she's here with us from San Diego, California. And then Randy Shayler will give some final closing words, and then we'll do our final breakout groups. It'll be a little shorter today, probably about 30 minutes, and then we'll return to do a final close and goodbye. So welcome back. I just did want to say something about the professional development certificates. They actually are already in the Google Drive, all right, in the Start Here folder. This is the honor system we're working on. So there are 5 certificates. If you were here all 4 days, print out the one that says 8 PD hours. If you were only here on Monday and Wednesday, you can print separate certificates for Monday and Wednesday. I'll send some follow-up information for the PA folks who have the Act 48 credits and how you apply for those. And there's going to be a questionnaire, I think, that PMEA requires you to fill out. And they've decided, that's why I did the 4 different certificates, because they're going to do it on a day-by-day basis. So each of those certificates are for 2 hours each. Okay, so that's the certificate situation. And by the way, like I said, they're already in the Google Drive folder for you to access. All right, they look like that. All right, let's welcome our first speaker. Dr. Chris Cicconi is Director of Bands and Orchestras and Assistant Professor of Music at Towson University in Maryland. Conductor of the Towson University Symphonic Band, Symphony Orchestra. He also teaches courses in graduate and undergraduate conducting, methods of teaching instrumental music in secondary education, and is an instrumental music education student teacher advisor. Chris is a strong advocate for music education and community outreach, and he is in demand throughout the Mid-Atlantic region and sought after as guest conductor, clinician, and guest speaker. Since his arrival in Maryland, he has appeared as a band and orchestra clinician in well over 100 public and private institutions. And let me tell you, this guy is at 3 different schools a day, every day. And I know, I see it on the Facebook. Nobody can keep up with him. And he's appeared with all state, all region, all county and bands and orchestras in numerous states around the country. Before coming to Maryland, Chris served as director of bands in schools in Fort Lauderdale and in Higley and Chandler, Arizona. As an orchestra and opera conductor, Cicconi serves as the musical director for Young Victorian Theater Company. Most recently, he has served associate conductor with the Broward Symphony Orchestra, the Ars Flores Symphony Orchestra, and the Wallenstein Youth Symphony. Did I screw that up?
It was perfect.
Oh, as an active scholar, Cicconi's agenda includes wind repertoire and other current music education topics such as score study, conducting, and arranging. His most recent publication, the Band Music Handbook, a catalog of emerging band repertoire, has provided to be a valuable resource and an essential tool for wind band conductors worldwide. Dr. Cicconi is also an active arranger. So please welcome my friend, Dr. Chris Cicconi. They're all clapping, but I made him be on mute.
Oh, what an introduction. Are we able to take my face down so I can see everybody? I'd love to see everyone else's faces.
Yeah, I was going to stop sharing. There you go.
Holy moly. So that introduction was, wow. So thanks, Keith. And thank you everyone for having me come in and speak today. As I was putting this presentation together, this whole thing has been a unique thing for me in that being a collegiate band director, it presents its own sort of issues. And also doing student teacher preparation, working with kids, my students right now that are getting ready to go out and teach in the virtual setting. I can't even imagine when their actual first time stepping into a classroom is a virtual classroom. And then being out and working with them, and also a lot of experience with working with my wife, who teaches kindergarten through fourth grade music and some of the applications and things like that that she's used. So when I was talking to, when Keith asked me to come on, first I was like, why? Because of such a prestigious organization in conference that's sort of happening here. But I am honored to be here, and I'm going to go through a few things quickly, and hopefully we'll have some time at the end for some questions and comments and all of that. But here I'm going to go through some free and some very inexpensive sort of applications in virtual distance learning apps that I've used that I think have been really successful. I apologize if it's been repeated. But I'm hoping, I tried to pick some things that were a little more obscure for everyone to think about. And I think, Keith, is that a good direction to go? Super. So when I started this, and especially and when we went sort of into quarantine and everything, I started really thinking about different ways that I can engage with my kids and how I can get them to participate more, to be more comfortable in all of these platforms, because my students, especially my music ed students, it was almost like a shutdown, and they weren't quite sure where we were going and what we were doing. And so I started putting together, I went through, I can't tell you how many apps and how many programs that I went through that failed, that didn't quite work. And the ones that I'm going to kind of talk with you about today are ones for me that have honestly been sort of the most successful as far as student engagement is concerned, and getting kids to sort of be inspired to participate a little bit more in the whole virtual setting. So going through that, I know a lot of the times, you probably, and Brian Balmages was here yesterday, and that creative repertoire initiative has been something that's amazing. And I'm really excited that we're going to actually start recording that, a lot of those pieces with some of the TU kids. You may have spoken about acapella, and if you don't know what that app is yet, that's one thing for me that has actually worked really, really well. And there are different ways, and we talk about sort of the multi-frame music videos. I can put this, and you probably know it, acapella. I've gotten up to 16 students that go in and work through that app, because you can make videos of 8 kids, and then you can import those videos into the app again. And so I found that the ease of use for that from my side, but more importantly from the side of my students, has been fantastic. So I've had flute sectionals with that. I've had percussion sectionals with that, where the kids have gotten together virtually and made a video, everything from elementary school kids to high school kids to collegiate kids that have sent me stuff. Even on my phone or whatever platform that I'm using, if it's Canvas or things like that, when they send me back their videos, that's been something that the students have really enjoyed using, especially because it's great for the small group collaboration, and it's the ease of use for that is something that my students have said has been extremely beneficial to them. On top of acapella, I'm writing this. If you don't know this one, that one, LumaFusion, that's one.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Chris. Are you sharing your screen?
No, I'm just putting things in the chat.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Just wanted to make sure that.
And then what I'll do is I'll send the notes after this. I find that when I share my screen and I can't see everyone's, I get really nervous, and then I ramble, and then things just don't quite get done the way they want to get done. So I sincerely apologize for that. But Keith, I'll send you the notes and everything that I've used for this. You see a lot of those sort of like multi-frame, everyone gets their own square, you record your thing and you send it back, and then you put it together. A lot of those things are done with like Pro Tools and Logic and Final Cut Pro, which costs like $300 to do. And with budget restraints, and TUs were really in a crunch for that. These things are extremely inexpensive. Most of them are free. And I went through last semester, I think 10 or 12 programs on what I can do with my kids for all grades. And actually working with my student teachers ended up using this when they went out and taught virtually in the spring of last year. And it was one of the most user-friendly and cheapest apps they can do. And we've all seen those videos, but the way you can sort of import and edit the videos and add effects, it's really, really user-friendly. It's user-friendly for iOS devices and Android devices and all of that. And so the ease of that and the amount of RAM that it takes up is significantly smaller than everything else. And I found myself when I used Final Cut that my computer crashed every 2 seconds. And so when I found this app, actually through a friend, that one is something that's been fantastic. So I would urge you to go on to that website and explore everything that it can do. But I actually also use LumaFusion with my wife's kindergarten virtual performance. And if you've ever had to have kindergartners sing to a click track, it's the greatest thing ever. Better than anything you've ever done. But they did a really good job with it. And we put this great, they sang, and then what she did was we also sent out, they sang it on a separate music track. We imported the music track and we put it on top of like their singing faces, and everything worked out great. And that was like the end of the year performance for them. But I used LumaFusion to do that. And like I said, I found that it was the easiest for me. As far as the acapella app, I used my version, and I paid for the version. And then when students uploaded things to my version, it was free for them. Let me go quickly on Flipgrid. Have any of you had any success with Flipgrid? And like I said, if that's a repeat, I apologize, but that's something that I've used a lot with my student teachers as far as working with their kids out in the schools. And if you don't know about Flipgrid, and if you've spoken about it, it's something that's really quick. I'll post a video, and then students were sort of required, they can post videos back, and they can share it with just me. They can share it with the whole class. I use that with my symphonic band a lot. The ease of use for that and the mobile applications for that was unbelievably easy. And my kids dug it really, really quick. And you know, kids today, the patience level is very, very, very low. And if they don't catch that pretty quick, it's sort of something they move on from. And so I used that a lot in teacher prep, and when I was out working, because I still work with high schools and middle schools, even in the sort of the COVID age where I couldn't be actually at the school. The one thing, and I know you've talked about smart music. The one I'm not going to talk about, the only thing I want to talk about smart music. Oh, my screen disappeared with all my notes. There it is. The one thing that I liked using about smart music is, I'm not going to go into it, but I really got into with my kids, and when I've done clinics, is the composition tool. Getting kids to compose music through that. It's one of the easiest ways. There's a bunch of other things you can use, like Note Flight. But what I had my students do is they would compose in smart music, and then I'd have them export it to things like GarageBand. And they would do these really cool, I did it with a 4th grade group at the McDonough School. And then they would put the loops and all the accompaniment stuff with, like, so for example, I had 4th grade trumpets play a scale or write a melody in here, and then they would write accompaniments with that. Audacity was one thing that I would use with that too. And then they would send that back, and we would share it with the class. So like their simple B flat scale would turn into this great sort of like, or like they put like a bossa nova feel with it, or all of that. And so young kids really dug that. And there's the GarageBand app. I think that's just native to iOS devices, but that was a really fantastic experience for those young kids. Here's something that I want you to think about, and I'm happy to share ours. Don't hesitate. Right now, I'm collaborating with most of the counties in the state to provide a resource for elementary school and even high school instrumental music educators. This is strings, and this is band. This is the whole gamut. My student teachers, because they need to know how to do this, they're making instructional videos on basically how-to videos. it wasn't my idea. It was Brian Steckenberger, who's the supervisor for Baltimore County Schools, said we should do this. And so whatever state you're from, I would urge you, and I know a lot of places actually do this, like professional platforms and things like that, but I know you have to pay for them, most of them. So we're making how-to videos, everything from how to recruit to get kids to play the flute, how to recruit kids to get into your instrumental programs. And then we're going things, so like, I know we just had a meeting yesterday where like video 1 is going to be how to sit right. So one of my collegiate kids is going to come in and for 60 seconds, they're going to make a video on how to sit, proper posture for the flute, proper posture for the clarinet, for the tuba, and then sound production, and then the first 5 notes, instrument maintenance. And all these videos are going to be about 60 to 90 seconds. But that idea came from the BCPS elementary school teachers and their supervisor to, hey, and it's going to be a free resource that my university is doing as sort of a service to them. And so whatever your local university is, or your music, like a music education program that's near or close to you, I would urge you to reach out to them and see if there's some kind of collaboration that you can do with them. I'm really excited to do that, and they're ecstatic. They've already started putting their videos together through all of that. I'm happy if that's something that you would be interested in. I'm happy to share that with anybody. And Keith, and I'll put my contact information in the chat and everything. But if you want access to those videos, it's just neat to see young kids doing that. A lot of them I'm actually pairing. So if a kid went to pair, like a Baltimore County school, they're going to do this video for maybe one of the schools that they taught in, to see different faces doing that.
Hey, Chris, just got a question for you. Do you have a YouTube channel for your music ed program?
Yeah, so the way we're going to, as far as those videos are concerned, YouTube doesn't work with a lot of the county websites, or just because it's something that's blocked that the kids can't get to. I'm going to set that up, a YouTube link for more of a national thing, if people want to go and look through that and see these sort of how-to videos. One of the best ways I can get my kids to understand instrument pedagogy is to be able to articulate that in 60 to 90 seconds or less. And that's what these videos are going to do. And so I'll have a YouTube account once it's all set up for people who want to look at that sort of nationwide. I know for Baltimore County and a lot of the other counties that I'm going to send this out to, it's going to have to be through a Google Drive or Google Classroom, or if it's Canvas or Schoology or what's the other big one, Seesaw, all of that stuff. I know that it's got to go through that, and I think that you can use those platforms to access Google. But don't hesitate to reach out to the college folks, especially the music ed people, and ask for their help with those kind of things. I would have never thought, I wish I could take credit for that, but I can't. And that has spiraled into something that has been really exciting to a lot of people. I think you've probably spoken about Google Slides. If you haven't, that's another thing that I have all of our instrumental music ed kids do. And those virtual classrooms that you can put together in a Google slide are really awesome. Making your own avatar and those kind of things. I had all my kids do this at TU. And so they would, if they're teaching general music online, they would put their Google slide together. And then in different parts of the Google slide, you can click on, here's what a trombone sounds like. And then it would take you to maybe a YouTube video of Joe Leslie playing the trombone. Or you can click on a computer, for example, and it would say things like, here's how you can compose music. And it would take you to the Chrome Music Lab Sing Maker. If you don't know that, Chrome Music Lab Song Maker, I think that's what it's called. That was something that's fantastic, and it's highly interactive for young students. And they can start to do composition activities there. They can do rhythm exercises. They can do pitch identification. And so my kids, I had to do this first. And it was hard at first. I think my first slide probably took me 4 hours, especially trying to make my video, or not my video, my avatar, because none of them had such a large head. Like my head is really large. And so it was tough to get that onto an avatar. So, but if you haven't interacted with those things, the virtual music classroom, and you can literally connect any or link anything to sort of a picture, if it's a xylophone or anything like that. So I would really urge you to explore that. I'm running out of time. Oh my goodness. The other thing I noticed that my students, especially when I was working with my wife's young students, if you've never, it was really difficult to get them to kind of buy into what I was doing and interact, as opposed to just like, oh, raise your hand or use the hand emoji. If you don't know Padlet, oh, I sent that to a private person. I'm sorry. This app, Padlet, is super cool. And so someone said that there. It combines, it's almost like Facebook and Instagram and TikTok all blended into one online platform. And kids get really excited about contributing to that. Like, and my wife used that a lot, especially with kids that aren't excited about sort of raising their hand and speaking in this setting. Like, that would be me. I would be just padletting it all the time, because I feel really awkward when I'm speaking in a Zoom thing. And so I would go look that up. It's very, very social media based. It's a little bit like Google Classroom. I found that it to be a lot more user friendly and is more interactive with my young kids. Don't ever underestimate the ability in Zoom, and I'm doing this a lot in the fall, to have other people come in and work with your kids. One of the things that we have here, like I've got the military bands are here, but it doesn't really matter. I've had people from California come to my Zoom sessions. I've had people from Colorado come to my Zoom sessions. If there's someone that's really good at what you're trying to do, there are a lot of things that I teach my kids. Many of them, I know there are way better people that can do it than me. This has been a great opportunity for me to bring them in. I'm going to have Keith come in the fall to talk with my kids. I had Jenny Neff come in, and she spoke with some of my graduate students, excuse me. Get those people in. I had Jason Fettig from the Marine Band come in and talk, and it's amazing. I went in and spoke to my wife's elementary school kids. And so the worst anyone can say is no. I'll never say no. I don't know how to say no, and Keith's right. I do a lot of work out in the schools. I love doing it. It keeps me grounded as to what's going on in the music education community. And it's much better than sitting in my office all day. If I sit in my office all day, all I'll do is buy stuff on Amazon. And so if I'm out in the schools, I can't be spending money. So get people in to do things that they're really good at doing. We all have sort of that time now. And so I would really urge you not to be sort of intimidated by that. And the other thing is, keep the Zoom stuff going. One of the big, and I urge you to reach out to your state organizations. One of the big things we've done in Maryland to really benefit from this is we do these virtual town hall things now. So MMEA, we just had one specifically on distance learning, where it was like 60 to 90 people came in, and we just shared ideas. Myself, I'm the president-elect, and the president, we sort of organized it and moderated it. And if I can get into the whole moderation piece at a different time, but we would moderate it, and people would just share ideas into a virtual Google Doc. And then we shipped that out to everyone that was actually to the entire NBDA organization. It was so helpful, because there were so many things that people brought up that you wouldn't even think to do. And I know you do the idea swaps here, but it's great if you get in touch with, like I said, your organization, because that idea came from just a local Howard County high school band director. He's like, we should do town halls. So we did one on virtual marching band. We did one on distance learning. We did one specifically on how can your voice be heard better throughout the organization. And those are the three that we've done so far. The virtual learning one was great because we split it into elementary for an hour and then secondary for an hour. And so people came to their specific one. And then we shared all of that stuff with everybody. We didn't, someone asked, we didn't record them. We should have, but the virtual notes we share on the NBDA site. So you can also reach out to me as well. I can put this right here. And I know Keith has my stuff. See, what is it? How do you spell my university? Townsend.edu. Way too many C's in that email address. But if you want to reach out to me, I'm really happy to share those with you. And those documents are still sort of living documents. People are still contributing to them. I know one person, for example, asked a question, what are some of the really cheap microphones that we can get on a super limited budget that would really help with sound production on my end? And people just blew up the chat, everything from like $15 microphones to $500 microphones, which I think is not cheap. And so people took those ideas and started incorporating them and adding them to their budgets. So one thing that was really fun that my kids liked a lot, and the outcome of this is we're going to play that. I did a virtual listening March Madness activity with my kids that they went crazy for. And we did it with grade 1 to 2 music. We did it with grade 3 to 4 music. And we did it with like high school level music. And if you know March Madness, the basketball tournament, basically there's 64 teams and then the winner, it keeps whittling itself down. And I did that with contemporary wind repertoire. I did it with contemporary string repertoire. And all I did was I did it through a Google Doc. And like I said, I'm happy to share this with you. And you can take it and you can steal it and you can do whatever you want with it. But I'm going to show you what it looked like. So here, excuse the big Towson University logo on there. But if you look here, I called it take 2 because take 1 was the elementary music. And so if you look, region 1, I didn't group them. Like the 1 seed has no bearing. I just started listing music, and every single piece is by a different composer. And it was very inclusive, and underrepresented composers were in there, and all of that. So like region 1 was the first one. The kids would have to go and listen to the Baumeister's Moscow 1941 and Mackey's Lightning Field. And then as I'm scrolling down through here, this is all grade 2 in 3 music that the kids would start digging into, listening to, and then they would vote. And it wasn't, I didn't really give them all, well, why did you do this? I just basically said, vote on which piece appealed to you more. And then as the results came in, then I whittled it down until we got the final one, which you would be amazed if, as I'm looking through all of these pieces, the Beethoven Machine by Michael Colgrass is the piece that won, which was a really out there sort of piece for young kids to listen to, and that's what they like the best. But not one composer in this is repeated. So I did this on all grade levels, and I did it with all different ensembles, whether it's string orchestra or band. Back to stop share. My last thing for you. I'm gonna throw this in there at the last second. We can't, and this is the hardest thing for me. I'm a very emotional person, and I wear my emotions on my sleeve probably more than I should. I miss my kids like we all do. Every day. I meet with my symphonic band and orchestra and music ed kids once a week. We're meeting tonight. That personal connection, I'm not even talking about music, but the personal connection that we have is something that sort of tugs at my heartstrings and is a piece of me is gone. And it's interesting because sometimes we take for granted the time that we have in front of our kids in a personal space. And when that time was now taken away from us makes me really reflect on the fact that when I get to be back in front of them, not a single second will be taken for granted. And they know this. And I reach out to them and I talk about this to them all the time. I'm not built. I could never, if I learned anything, I could never work from home, ever. I would go bonkers. So what the point of me telling you this tonight, And I've done this a few times, and it's actually been one of the most successful and one of the most uplifting and exciting, because I'll see my kids and the face will just be unbelievably sort of tranquil and stoic, and we'll play and we'll do all this fun music stuff. But in the end, the most personal thing that I've ever done with these kids, and this may sound ridiculous and this may sound whatever, but it's worked unbelievably well, is I do once a month with my students, we do show and tell. And I know it's like sort of a kindergarten, or sometimes it's called show and share or show and something. And so once a month we meet and we do show and tell. And they have to bring something that's not music related, that's special to them, or it could be funny, or it could be whatever. I had one person bring their mom to show and tell. And so the whole band and orchestra met their mom. I brought my wife's taco hat because when she does, she has all these cool props that she does with her young kids. I had one, they would bring animals. I had one kid bring their younger brother, and all of that. Of all the things that I've done through all of this, that's the thing they look forward to the most. Dr. Cicconi, when are we doing show and tell again? I have the greatest thing. And getting those kids to sort of come back and know that, like, I really want to know and see you on a personal level. The music thing obviously is important, but the humanity part of this thing is the most important thing to me. I love them, and I want to see what they like. I had someone bring a soccer ball. Someone brought their aunt. And so think about that as we're trying to connect, think about connecting to that human side first. We're all struggling with different things. And when you have them bring something personal, and that's really important to them, I would urge you to do that. Now, I brought something. I brought a show and tell. My kids left today, and I've got two boys and my wife, and the family part of this has been great, and we go hiking all the time. But my little guy, this is what he sleeps with every night, his little fish unicorn. And so if it brings a smile to your face, or it's like, what is a fish unicorn? This is what he sleeps with every night. And I went and stole it from his bed. I got to go put it back, because the first thing he'll do when he gets home is he'll make sure that this is there, this and this, because he'll suck on his thumb for the full 2 hours that he still naps, thank goodness. But I bring this, and so I just show this to you because this is something personal to me. When I see my boy, when I see that he's sleeping and this is there, it kind of pulls at me a little bit. And so you don't have to do show and share, show and tell, but I would do something to make that a more personal connection to your kids. And oh my gosh, I'm over. I have to stop. I hope that this was beneficial. If you have any questions at all whatsoever, please feel free to reach out, email. I'm on Facebook and all of that. I would love to speak with you further, but I wanted to give you just a few resources that I can give you 90 resources that didn't work for me. Those resources really worked for me, especially with connecting to my kids on so many different levels in so many different ages. Okay, I'm done. I'm sorry.
Chris,
hey, thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Chris. Everybody's applauding, and you see all kinds of great comments. So many great suggestions in the chat there. People are very, very thrilled. So thanks, and you have great energy, and you're very inspiring. All right, next up, Ann Fennell is the K-12 Music Program Manager for San Diego Unified School District in San Diego. She holds bachelor's in music education, a master's in leadership studies, or she'll work so all kinds of certification levels and blah, 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 lots. Her experiences include 32 years teaching kindergarten through grade 12 music education, integrated arts and music, leading performance ensembles in civic and professional organizations and national conferences. She's a recognized presenter and clinician at professional conferences and workshops at local, regional, national, and international levels. She supported beginning teachers in multiple subjects through the California Beginning Teachers Assessment Program, and was also an invited speaker to the U.S. Department of Education's Research to Best Practice Conference in Washington, D.C. During the summer of 2018, Ms. Fennell presented a keynote address for the Beijing Music Education Conference as a guest of NAMM, followed by a workshop on creativity and critical thinking. And in the fall of 2015, Anne presented a keynote at the first China Conference for Music Education in Shanghai, addressing the whole musician, followed by workshops in music composition. In 2020, Anne received the Technology in Music Education National Teacher of the Year. In 2017, she was honored as a National Magnet School Teacher of the Year. And the list of awards and publications in technology, innovation, and music education go on and on and on. Ms. Fennell has given advocacy presentations and served as a consultant for school districts on assessment, standards-based curriculum, creativity, composition, and integrated arts instruction. She was on the writing team for the National Core Arts Music Standards. In 2016 to 18, a member of NAFME's General Music Council, and for the last 4 years, she's the national chair for the NAFME Innovations Council. Please welcome our final keynote presenter for the week, Anne Fennell.
Hello. Just want to make sure you can see my first slide. We're good?
Yes, you're good.
Sweet. Okay. Thank you so much. What a lovely welcome. I'm going to let you know right now that my audio might catch my dog barking. If I close my door, he will scratch on the door incessantly. So you might get a greeting from little Bichon here up around the house. And I just want to thank you so much, Keith, for this opportunity, and Zeswitz also for sponsoring this. And what a fantastic format. What a really fantastic way for people to connect all the United States and for people to really share beautiful ideas. I'm very excited about this presentation today because I think you're all going to connect with this in a very unique way. And so I'm going to begin. I will ask you to chat a couple times in the middle of this talk, so be ready to type in your thoughts when I ask for that. And so, Keith, I might even ask you at that point to read the chat for a few items, okay? Just be ready. A little bit nervous, okay. I believe in lifelong learning and music education for all students. I believe in casting the educational net wide so all humans can find themselves in and through music. And I believe and know that music is a creative and rigorous academic subject. And with creativity and critical thinking, music improves the human condition through a personal expression that defines our own humanity and culture. And I believe and know that each of you in this virtual space right here are here because of your journey, and it's called you to learn and grow for the sake of every student, for the sake of music, for the sake of our collective culture, and for music education. You are the seekers, the doers, the givers, the ponderers, the air, spirit, sound benders who guide your students through the highs and lows of every day, pre-COVID, during COVID, and in time, post-COVID. I can feel it now. We have all moved through both the change and the grief curve in warp speed, and it was real and hard, and at times overwhelming and debilitating. It has been a personal and professional journey like no other. Each of you, right now, own this. You are all heroes and heroines. And let's talk about the word heroine or hero for a moment. In the chat, can you type characteristics of a hero? Real life, not superpower. Real life hero. Okay, so give yourselves about 5-10 seconds to chat. And Keith, I'm going to call upon you.
Oh boy, it's blowing up.
I bet. All they have to do is think about who they are. Read a few out loud.
A giving, dedicated, trustworthy, determined, passion, patient, strength, empathetic, sacrifice, humble, flexible, supportive, forward-thinking, loving.
These are beautiful. I can't wait to get the stream of this. Yes, these are all selfless and kind words. And it's also someone who has great strength. And here's the other part. A hero is someone who causes change because of their actions. A hero is someone who causes change because of their actions. And they're as unique as you. And because all heroes and heroines are highly interesting and have great empathy and sympathy, and just like you, they care greatly about others, you have great value to thousands of children and families. Partly because of all that I believe and that you believe as a part of who you are, partly because of the belief that you have in music education. And that's important to know because you carry this with you every day. Remember when the quarantine hit, many began to see your value. And on social media, parents began to write phrases like, "Teachers don't make enough money, I'm done, get the teachers back." Pictures of parents having meltdowns, dealing with 1 or 2 kids, mind you. We deal with hundreds every day with instruments that make sounds. That is each of you a valued hero on a journey. But this wasn't just any journey, and I submit to each of you that we have all been on a hero's journey, and you towed and carried, hauled hundreds of students with you. Mind you, usually hero's journey is done alone, so what each of you did was Herculean. But let's talk about a hero's journey for a second. There are many movies, books, stories, and poems that have outlined this hero's journey, and let's pull this apart. In this journey, the hero or the heroine is someone that everyone knows, just like all of you, and looked up to, and you're likable by all. This put each of you in the perfect space to be on this journey as the lead character. I want you to envision you as the lead character on this hero's journey. It usually comes in 3 acts or movements, and here a hero or heroine, each of you, begins to walk. So now I'm going to walk you through this journey with a few recognitions. Here's Act 1, the departure act. The hero leaves the ordinary world. Oftentimes ripped from normality, and I'm sure you saw this movie. A principal in a faraway land gathers all the teachers into the library and says, okay, school building is closed for the next 6 to 10 months. Here's your computer. You'll all be teaching online. Some kids may or may not join. We don't know what it's going to be like. Your Wi-Fi might not carry the bandwidth you need. You might need a Wi-Fi splitter. Not sure if we'll even do grades. And I have no idea what you'll teach, and you'll need to check your email every hour, by the way. Oh, don't breathe on anyone or touch anything. We have to assume you're all infected. I'm thinking we were all in that movie. And this is where your hero's journey began, where you left your ordinary world, you were ripped away from your norm, your music rooms, your face-to-face with students and parents and peers, and placed in a space with you and a machine that you're looking at right now. Remember the tension, the stress of those first few days and weeks? There were many choice words spoken and many tears were shed or tequila was tipped. It depended on the person, because the stress of taking this journey with hundreds of students in tow who look up to you was real, because you were in a foreign land with no map or shelter. There was no protection. But you made it through those first few days of shock because you cared about students and what you needed. In spite of all of your personal needs, you put everything aside and focused on connecting with students. Now this portion, the departure act of the hero or heroine's journey, lasted longer for some, shorter for others, but in the end, everyone completed the first act. Bravo. Because of your profound and deep caring and the incredible amount of bravery you exercised to leave your known land, I'm bestowing on all of you a badge. And this is the badge of courage. I want you to think about this a moment. Own it. You all stepped into this. Each of you had moved through tasks that were daunting and mentally exhausting. Every single teacher was on a continuum of learning. Every single person was put into a student seat to learn something new. And this then led us to the initiation act, Act 2. This is where you actually were living in the unknown territory. You and the machine, little boxes of people in front of you, or email streams. Here you entered the special world where various trials, challenges, and issues were flung at you. Some in the moment, some long-term. Zoom bombers, computers crashing, students not knowing how to sign in or drop an assignment, breaking strings, cracking reeds, cats and saxophone cases, or no instruments at all. Through all of it, you mustered the courage and you became the computer genius, the tech support, the counselor, the teacher, the learner, the creator, the guide, the music educator that you always have been. You completed each task, each trial, each challenge flung at you. Bravo. And you learned new programs. You joined Facebook groups, thousands, cried, tipped, tequila, again, not sure which, depends on you. You learned skills and languages of the machine that you didn't know before. And by trial and error, by one click at a time, you, the heroes and heroines on your journey, began to slowly put into place your newfound skills and ideas. You put into practice all that you learned on your own. You were forced to learn or have avoided for years. You made it through the Initiation Act, a virtual public hazing for virtual public education. In the Initiation Act, you never gave up and you pushed through. Here you began to put into practice everything you were learning on your journey to overcome each obstacle, obstacles that challenged you as a human and as a music educator. They hit you hard and in every possible way. Because of this continual push, I bestow on you another badge, the badge of perseverance. Own that badge. Think about what you did. This is really important to reflect on this moment because this is a badge like no other. It is you pushing and leaning in no matter what. Perseverance separates people, and you see this in your classes too, from those that accomplish and those that don't. You modeled determination and provided options. When computers crashed, you signed back in. When students couldn't find an assignment, you found a workaround. When your peers needed personal or work help, you were there. When you didn't know what to teach, you humbly reached out to others with a glimmer of possibility to try again and again and again. And when your summer break hit, you all signed up for a conference to learn and grow some more. As the hero or heroine, you know that success in your hero and heroine's journey depends on your willingness to never give up, even if the reward is unknown or delayed. And those rewards might have been very delayed. Even if you were knocked down over and over, you all modeled for your students all that you wanted them to have and become. In fact, this initiation phase was really brutal. Days were filled with mountains that seemed too tall to climb and valleys that were too deep to even get out. Days that zipped by and days that crawled by. And what day was it anyway? It was Blur's day. But no matter what, you bounced back. You climbed onward to do what was right for your students. When you were getting knocked down, you got back up, even if you were learning everything of this on your own, or just staying 5 minutes ahead of your students. You survived, overcame fears, slayed the slow internet, and over time you found a moment to celebrate, time to regroup and take care of yourself, maybe just a little bit. You found the joy in your students once again, and you ached to be near the class and hear music as you had in the past, but you still got up, opened the computer. Truly incredible. And because of this act in your journey, and it was so long and tedious, I'm rewarding you another badge, the badge of resilience. In the chat now, so be ready to talk here, and we'll have Keith reply and read aloud. I'm inviting each of you to share one thing that demonstrated your persistence or your resilience, but I'm inviting you to word it positively. So think about your words that were positive of what you did to overcome. Keith, want to read a few aloud?
We don't have any yet.
They're thinking.
Oh, advocated for students.
Yes.
Continued my education, reflection, love, family support, balanced roles of parent, teacher, and teacher, encourage the unknown, my home visit. It's going too fast.
It's hard. That's why I can't do it.
Look for opportunities to grow, ready to feel uncomfortable, in contact with administrators. Created a website to recruit more kids, checked in with students daily, continued lessons no matter what, advocated for my subject, sought support from a mentor, collaboration, supported students by getting them what they needed to be successful, reached out to students I wasn't hearing from, didn't hesitate to learn new programs, admit that I have made mistakes.
I love that.
Embrace the suck. More peer collaboration.
Thank you.
Took so many PDs on my own, connecting with students and colleagues.
That's beautiful. And I love the vulnerability of it as well. You know, sharing the reality of it. We all know, we all grow, and sometimes we don't know it all for sure. And this has revealed that and allowed us to step into that. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. Feel free to keep on typing in. Nothing could knock you down. We just heard it. Because you lived in courage, persistence, and resilience. And all of this has changed you. You've learned so much about who you are, what you can do, and what is possible. You have each wondered how this journey has changed you, transformed you as a teacher, as a learner, as a musician. And even if you didn't have time then, I invite you to think about that now. Now, this is where the story gets really interesting, actually, because normally in a hero or heroine's journey, the story ends in Act 3, the return home, with a transformed human returning. But our story's ending can't end in the same location where our journey began, because another challenge has been put in front of us. On our path, we have to accomplish something yet again. Yes, we're still on this, and many negotiating behind the computer. Some are trying to be safe with students in a room, watching the national news, terrified. Some working in a hybrid situation, and every one of your stories is very different. And this is where each of you come in to finish your personal hero and heroine's journey. How will your hero's journey end for you? What will happen when you return home and are confronted by the normality of everyday life? Will you release all that you have learned and return and settle back into all that you taught and created before the journey began? If this is your path, I wonder if the time you took for your journey of growth and transformation will all be for naught. Or will you return transformed and ready to teach with all your newfound skills and possible expansions of music education? By the way, in a hero's journey, if you maintain your transformation and you integrate all that you have learned into the previous world, you become the master of both worlds with a newfound freedom and expansiveness that is new for all. How will your journey end? And what badge of honor will you bestow upon yourself when you return home? You are in charge of this because your thoughts will create your outcomes. How your story ends will determine the badge of honor that you will bestow upon yourself. Courage, persistence, and resilience are already yours. What badge awaits you when you return home from your hero's journey? The story is yours to tell. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. We have a few minutes. If anybody has a question for Anne, if you want to type it in the chat, I'll field a couple questions to Anne. You got goosebumps.
Yay.
Lots of thank yous.
I hope you own everything that you've gone through. This is so important. And acknowledge that in the students too. Beautiful. Oh my gosh, you're giving me goosebumps. Thank you.
Does anybody have a question for Anne?
I love this. That makes me feel better about all that I did and all that I didn't. Yes. And all that didn't work. I love that. Yeah, the hero's journey.
Well, it doesn't look like there's any questions. And you are so well prepared. Yes, it was awesome. Thank you, Anne. I knew you were the right person to close us out this week.
Thank you so much, Keith. It was an honor.
Yeah. What learning platforms did you use?
So even before the pandemic, I was always on Google Classroom, and I had been using Google Classroom since the very beginning when it first came. I used Noteflight in its beta form many, many years ago, and all of my high school students were fluid in all of that. So it was, I have a website, I had a Google site. It was really a seamless transition. The kids knew where to find me immediately. So that was nice. Yeah.
So, Anne, you just took this new position this past year, right? This was the first year in a new position. But could you maybe tell them a little bit about your previous position and what you were teaching?
Absolutely. Well, and let me just add that for all the music teachers that I support, there are 85 of them. I made a Google Classroom for all of them and a Google site, so that we had an open source for the entire district at that moment. So I taught 4 levels of music composition on technology at the high school level, and have many, many students out in composition programs at Berkeley, at UCLA, at USC, all these great schools around the United States. And as well as 3 levels of steel drum ensembles. I had about 165 kids in steel drum ensembles, where they composed and created their own music, and they did all of their own arranging from the very first day to the very last day they graduated. And they would choose the music, and it was a very student-centered, personalized learning approach. Kids created rubrics and very individualized programs, even with ensembles.
I wanted you to share about the steel drum ensembles, because here in the East Coast, where most of our listeners are from, it's not a thing around here. I mean, I know there are some programs down in the Baltimore area that are great, but it's not like it is in the Southwest and on the West Coast. So
yeah, I was really lucky. I created that because our school did not have football, right? So I thought, okay, let's let the other 2 comprehensive high schools have marching band, and then I'm going to create something where anyone can join. So all of my courses were entry-level music education, even composition, whoever wanted to come. And then the cool thing was the kids started playing music that was so hard. We would start to transcribe things like, I don't know if you all know Tool, but it's one of my favorite groups, but playing in 5 and 7 and 9 against 4. It was crazy. Everything from Bach to Tool. That's what we played on steel drum. It's crazy.
Wow. Very creative. Okay. My recommendation is you always remember Anne Fennell, and any chance you have to hear her, see her again at a conference or a session or webinar, that you definitely do so. Thanks again, Anne, for joining us.
Thank you.
Is Randy on?
Hey, yes, I'm here. Hey, hello, Keith. Hello, everybody.
Randy, welcome back. I wanted to give Randy a couple minutes to talk about, give some last words. And first of all, I want to say publicly again, you were a lifesaver the other day, taking over when I couldn't access and start the meeting and everything. And you were just tremendous. So,
well, I very much appreciate that. That was really nice. I love hearing that I'm tremendous. Hey, I think, like I said yesterday or 2 days ago, the theme is adaptability, and Keith invited me on today to kind of draw things to a close. But I actually, I just can't resist. I was inspired by Anne's presentation. I want to actually give you just one more little tidbit of advice. This is one of the most memorable lessons that we learned I was fortunate enough to do a master's in business administration at Harvard Business School, which was just absolutely amazing in lots of ways. But one of the most memorable days was when we learned from a nuclear submarine commander about dealing with a crisis and making decisions in a fluid environment. And Anne's presentation just now inspired me and brought this back up in my mind, and I wanted to share this with you. The concept was totally foreign to me and maybe foreign to you, all of you as well. It's called an Ooda Loop, and it was invented by this guy who was named 42nd Boyd. His name is John Richard Boyd. He was a military strategist and one of the first members of the Air Force when it was founded, and became known for this thing called the Ooda Loop. And briefly, in a really fluid and emerging environment like the ones that Anne described and like the ones that we all found ourselves in, this Ooda framework is a really interesting way to kind of think about making quick decisions. And it starts that OODA starts first with observation, which is the collection of data by means of the senses, and just thinking what's going on, right? And the hardest thing about making any decision is figuring out what in the heck is going on here, right? Then orientation, which is synthesizing that data and figuring out, okay, what does this mean? Then you make a decision, you make the best decision you can, and you take action. But then the key thing here is that it's a loop, it's a feedback, right? So in the command of a nuclear submarine, what was described to us is that this nuclear submarine captain, in the midst of a crisis or an emerging event, he said that he kept coming back to this Ooda framework, thinking, okay, I'm going to make the best observation. I'm going to get all the observations, collect all the data I can. I'm going to orient, try to figure out what this means. I'm going to make a decision, and I'm going to take action, and then repeat the cycle. And I thought, inspired by Anne's conversation, I thought I would share that with you all. So that's maybe just one more little nugget and little tidbit and piece of content from yours truly. But folks, I am just so inspired by all of the wonderful things that were discussed on this workshop this week, and I want to thank each and every one of you for taking part in this opportunity to sharpen the sword, to reflect, and to get ready for what is going to be the most interesting fall that any of us have ever had. And I don't think, as I said in the introduction, I don't think anybody could have predicted what this fall would look like. We want to say a huge thank you to all of our wonderful guest speakers. We had just an amazing roster of folks who came and shared with you. And I want to acknowledge every single one of them for what a great job that they did, and the wonderful comments that they made and the content that they presented, and just how valuable that was. And then I also want to recognize and thank each one of you for all the great things that you did in the breakout rooms. One of the most valuable things about this format that Keith designed for us is the opportunity for you all to share, and across state borders and from many different backgrounds and different styles and modes of education, and having different experiences over the spring. You did such a wonderful job coming together and sharing all that information with each other. And then lastly, I must most sincerely thank our fearless Director of Education, Keith Hodgson. What a wonderful job Keith did putting this whole thing together, and we are so tremendously grateful for all of his efforts. Keith, you did a fantastic job with this one, and I am oh so proud. In closing, I just want to talk about a couple of the things that Zeswitz is doing to try to support our clients, both because perhaps you're in an area that we serve, or because these are things that you could be discussing with a music dealer with whom you work very closely. This fall is going to be a time when it's absolutely critical for you to get all the support that you need. You are at the center of a very challenging environment, and you need the support not only from your administrators and your colleagues, but you need the support of a music dealer who has your best interests and your long-term success in mind. And so I encourage you, if you're not working with a music dealer that supports you, find one that will. And I say that with our clients on the line. If you're not working with a music dealer that supports you, find the one that will. I want to mention a couple of the things that Zeswitz is doing to make sure that we're being as supportive as possible and that we're helping our clients to be ready for anything. So in the event that our clients are faced with virtual instruction, Zeswitz is putting together virtual concerts, and Brian Balme just touched on this a little bit. And there's some ways to do it that are a little bit less intensive, but the way that we've done it is we've contracted with a video production firm to actually manage all of the data and all the back end of working with the student videos. So the video production firm produces a conductor and instruction video for the students. The students then record themselves and drop their recording in a Google Drive file that our pro video production firm then retrieves out of the folder, and then they stitch all the videos together. We've had these done in the spring with up to 350 participants, and they do all of the logistics of doing that, and they've got these big pro processors and computers, and it takes those things days to crunch all this video content. So in any case, what we found in the spring was that those were a great motivator to give students kind of a goalpost and something to strive towards, and especially for the beginners to just simulate the feeling of togetherness with the others in your music program. And then lastly, those are opportunities for them to share with loved ones, maybe even far away, grandmothers and grandfathers, aunts and uncles, to solicit the kind of praise that they deserve for all their great hard work as young musicians. The next thing is we want to make sure that in-person instruction is as safe as possible. So we encourage our clients to use PPE, and Zeswitz has secured a supply of PPE for all of our clients' needs. We went out as soon as the Colorado study came out, and that's the little thumbnail that we have on there. We were really struck by how much safer music indoors, wind instruments in particular, gets to be when bell covers and masks are used. And then, we've all seen that photo of the person trying to play a clarinet in a bag. And as funny as that is, if that's safer, we think that that's a good thing. So we've actually worked on with a marching band apparel manufacturer to really reduce the cost of these. And then also the clarinet in the bag thing, since it's impossible to see fingerings in the students' fingers, we actually developed a clear version of that that we're going to be using with our clients. So we think PPE is going to be absolutely critical, and we've worked to secure a plentiful supply of PPE for our clients that need it. If you need PPE, regardless of where you are, reach out, because we may be able to help. But we at least know that we've got what we need for our area, which is absolutely terrific. And we think everybody in every classroom should have all the PPE necessary to make music as safe as possible indoors. Second to last, we actually have 4 of these. Limits on in-person recruiting, we think, are going to be the new normal, at least in Eastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. So we want to help make the most robust online recruiting experience we possibly can. And for us, that means creating a great online experience for students to be able to explore instruments. So where our clients aren't able to go into general music classrooms or pull students out to test them on mouthpieces or introduce them to the instruments by playing them, we've created a site to simulate that. And it's called musicrecruitment.com. You're all welcome to check it out. And it's a great resource. Those videos that we created introduce the students to the instruments of the orchestra, the instruments of the band, and then each instrument in particular. There's a guide video on how to select an instrument and choose which instrument's right for you. And then there's a whole parent side of that site that kind of distills down the most pithy and impactful advocacy points about the benefits of playing music, cognitive, social, emotional benefits of playing music for parents. So use musicrecruitment.com, borrow content from it. We believe that the tide raises all boats. So feel free to borrow and certainly to use our videos or our content in your own sites if you'd like. And if you're in your service area, we can actually customize a musicrecruitment.com site for you. So it can be musicrecruitment.com/ and then the name of your district. And you can put your own videos up on the site and even tailor the collection of videos to match the instruments that you offer to your beginners. So that's a resource for you. We hope that saves time for all of the many things that you'll need to do to prepare and get ready for the fall. We hope that creating a recruitment site in a turnkey basis for you will save you the time of creating it yourself. And then lastly, we know that a lot of our clients will have instrument distribution challenges, either because all virtual instruction has closed buildings or because there are limits on the sizes of gatherings that prevent parents from coming to a night that they would otherwise come to sign up and get musical instruments. And we also know that parents are going to be challenged and pulled in all different directions, not only because of their own desire for safety and not have to take any unnecessary errands. We also know that because of hybrid schedules and managing all of the requirements there, the parents are going to be more stretched for time than ever. So we've actually designed and are working with our clients to schedule drive-through instrument distribution events where we'll put a truck full of instruments on site on premises in the parking lots of schools, and then parents can drive up to the vehicle one by one by appointment. We can go out to the vehicles, give them a musical instrument. They can kind of drive through and get the instruments that way. We feel like that's not only the safest, but most convenient and most organized way to distribute musical instruments. And we're working with our clients to do that. And by the way, we're working with our clients to do that now in the month of August, before anything else, come what may, anything else bad happens. We of course hope that there's not going to be any kind of a second wave, but we're sensitive to the fact that there is growth of the pandemic in other states, and we want to make sure that in the event that something bad happens in the fall, that we get instruments into the hands of as many students as possible before anything shuts down, has the opportunity to shut down again. So we feel like we have a window right now when it's possible to distribute instruments to students, and we want to make the most of that for the good of our programs. And folks, with all of these things in mind, my one encouragement to you is that this year need not be a bad one for your music program. As you think about what this year means and how you're going to overcome your challenges, think about what a great resource you're offering to these students, especially those affected by either all virtual or hybrid instruction, all the screen time that they'll be spending. Playing a musical instrument to those families is a wonderful antidote to all the screen time. And we all know what an universally detested evil that screen time is. You're offering a wonderful solution to those families. So we think it's more important than ever for students to be playing instruments, and what that means to your program as you think about this is that, especially when it comes to recruiting beginners and retaining the students that you have in your program, this doesn't have to be a bad year, because a bad year we know can have depending on when you start beginners, if it's like in our area, you start third or fourth graders, can have an 8 or 9 year effect on the total participation in your program. And this year, we can't let that happen. So Zeswitz is doing these things for our clients to make sure that won't happen, doing these things within our service area. But we're also happy to connect you with other dealers that we know that offer the same sorts of things in your area. So if you need a music dealer, if you need support, all of you need support from a strong music dealer. If you think you need a new music dealer and you need a recommendation, feel free to reach out to us, because we probably know through our industry associations, either the National Association for School Music Dealers or NAM. And NAM has a wonderful program that we're a part of called the Top 100, which recognizes the top 100 dealers in the country for merit. We've been fortunate to receive that distinction the last 4 years in a row. We can help to connect you with a music dealer in your area who can really look out for your long-term best interests. And folks, I just want to say again, on behalf of everybody at Zeswitz, thank you so much for everything that you're doing in your classrooms and for your students. Without what you do for your students, nothing we do matters, not at Zeswitz, not for anyone in the music products industry. Everything in our entire industry and the futures and all the benefits of all the students that take part in your programs, they all depend on you. And we want to thank you sincerely from the bottom of our hearts for all the wonderful things you do for your students. So with that concludes the last session, and I'll turn it back over to Keith to introduce the breakouts, but thank you again for joining us, and best of luck this fall. Please keep in touch and let us know what we can do to support.
Thanks so much, Randy. Super. As I put in the chat, for those New Jersey folks, I will be following up with all of you for anything we can do to help you in your program. So I'll be following up next week. So now we're going to do the breakout rooms like we did yesterday. If you are attending today and were not here yesterday, you're going to need to go to my email from either last night or the night before, and you will see that there are 2 new Zoom links for our breakout rooms, either rooms 1 through 8 or 9 through 16. All right. And just like yesterday, it'll take a minute or two for Jennifer and I to put you in the rooms. Again, if you could make sure that you rename yourself with your room number, it would make it really, really handy. Just put the number of your room before your name, and we can do it really quickly. All right. And it'll be for short. It'll only be for about 25 minutes maybe. And then we're going to meet back for some final closing stuff and some information. I have a whole bunch of information for you to close out when we come back. All right, I'm going to end this meeting. Goodbye, and thank you, Chris, and thank you, Randy.